Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and I just want to talk a little bit about pollen patties, nutrition, kind of what we're doing this year and why, and different options. So one of the reasons we feed pollen patties is because every year is different. It's the end of January, maple pollen has started. Bees have already started brooding, which, you know, when pollen hits, that's when they really want to go at it. There's nothing that can beat pollen. You can feed pollen patties like this in December here. They'll eat them. You can feed them in early January, late November. I don't see any meaningful gains from it at all. And you can feed the dry into them. I don't see really any meaningful gains. Until that maple pollen starts hitting, the bees really don't want to start raising brood. But when it does and that trigger hits, they want to rear brood like nobody's business. And this kind of goes back to the thing that we say, you know, bees will do whatever they want, bees don't read books, all that kind of stuff. Bees do have truths though. And one of the truths is, once we get to pollen coming in, the stimuli of brood rearing is intense. And once bees get a large population with a lot of pollen and nectar coming in and things start backfilling in the hive, that stimuli swarming. So these truths can teach us what we can do to prevent certain stimuli or to encourage certain stimuli. So once the bees decide they want to brood, that's when I start throwing these pollen patties, and that's what I've been doing today. We can make our own, and I have videos. I'm going to leave a link down here if you would like to make your own, mix your own. Maybe you have some dry powder you want to mix up or whatever. But this year I'm actually using pre-made patties just due to time, and also we were able to get these at the conference for $1.62 a pound, so it's hard to beat that. Check this out real quick. So if you come a little bit closer, you can see that there is pollen bits in this global patty. Now this also has the Canadian rocket fuel in it. I just call it rocket fuel. It's made by Apis Biologics, and it fills in any nutritional gaps that the pollen patties don't have in them. It's trying to mimic pollen as much as possible. So hundreds of varieties were tested of pollen and nectar to create these products to bring you a supplement that is, in my opinion, as good as anything I've ever seen. I don't even know anything that's really close to it. The global patties were already really good. In my opinion, they were my favorite patty to use. They just weren't very available to me because I had to buy so much for my little operation. Buying several pallets, it just wasn't cost effective. But with the conference, we bought 22,000 pounds of them. And we could have sold more than that if we had had them, but we just didn't have the time. So one of the things I love about the global patties is how soft they are. This is a big difference, and this patty is cold. It's been stored in my shed. It probably dropped down in the 40s. So it is quite cool, and when you throw this into a hive and it warms up, the bees can consume it so much faster than some of the other pre-packaged patties that you get from some of the big bee supplies. And so the consumption rate is extremely important for small hive beetles. We don't want to give them any more time to be able to mess these things up and reproduce. And the pollen granules that are in it make a big difference. This is just a really nice patty. You don't have to feed this patty though. There's Ultra Bee patties, there's Dayton's AP23, there's other patties out there. But we do this because not every year is the same. Last year, maple pollen didn't start coming in until the 3rd week of February. That's about a month from now. It's a little less than a month from now. So the bees didn't really start brooding up till almost 3 weeks late compared to this year. Do you think we're going to have just gorgeous sunny weather between now and spring? Absolutely not. There's going to be some hiccups. For $1.62, you're buying these in bulk at the conference, but even if you have to pay more than that, this right here is going to smooth out the gaps and get you more brood. And there's a reason why we feed them. You know, as a business, the people that we've learned from who are businessmen and women, and our operation, Laurel and I, have easily been able to determine that it's cost effective to feed these. Now, how much are we going to feed? A lot of it depends on the year. If we have a lot of nice sunny days like this between now and the spring flow in April, we might only feed a couple pounds of them per hive. If we get some rough weather like we had 3 years ago where we get a lot of cool days, lots of rain, the bees cannot fly for like 10 to 14 days at a time, and it's warm, so they're still active and burning through resources. This stuff is critical to our operation still producing enough honey and bees to be able to sell nucleus colonies. So this stuff is really nice. It's not perfect, and you cannot feed this stuff. If there's a dearth for months and months and months on end, this stuff can help a little bit with that, but eventually they're going to have to get the real stuff. This stuff cannot sustain them. It is a supplement, but with the Canadian rocket fuel added, with all the extra goodies that it's got in there, it's definitely rocket fuel. So this is why we feed it. If you have any questions about pollen patties or feeding, leave them below. It definitely helps our bees out. So I'm going to leave a link down below to where you can see some videos on how to make them, and also places that you can get some cool patties. John with Hilco still has some rocket fuel infused patties there in Hilco, so maybe check those out before they are gone. We will see you in the next video.